Hi, boys and girls. Did you know that we have seasons? You probably do, right? What season are we in right now? Don't let me trick you. We're actually just starting the season of fall or autumn. We finished summer not too long ago, and now it's fall. I think it's going to start feeling like fall very soon. What happens in fall? Right, the temperatures get colder, leaves start to fall off the trees, and then we'll have fall for a few months, and pretty soon, what will come next? Do you know what season comes after fall? If you guessed winter, you're right. After fall comes winter, and then in winter, it turns cold and snowy, and we have to play inside. Sometimes we can play outside in the snow, but sometimes it's too cold. After we have a few months of winter, then it starts to warm up again a little bit. The snow will melt, and then it will be spring, right? And after spring, then it will be summer, and it starts all over again. Did you notice a pattern? There are 4 seasons every year, and they always follow the same pattern. First is summer, we just finished. Then it will be fall. Then it will be winter. And then spring. And then it starts all over again. It's always the same. The seasons always follow the same pattern. Today we're going to learn about why we have the pattern of seasons. Why do the seasons always follow the same pattern, and what causes those seasons? Why is it warmer in the summer than in the winter? So we're going to start by watching a movie that will explain why we have the different seasons and why they always follow that same pattern. And then I'm going to teach you how to do a very short, quick activity in Seesaw today. All right, so stay tuned. Here comes the movie.
Winter, spring, summer, fall. Seasons. I just love them all. Other than inspiring me to make up goofy poetry, why wouldn't you love the seasons? There's always something to look forward to. You already know that summer means long days of fun in the sun, and winter means shorter days, not to mention building snowmen and making lots of Frozen references. Okay, so clearly the sun and seasons are linked. But how? You already know that the sun is pretty important. It is the center of the solar system, after all. You also know that our planet, Earth, revolves around the sun, making its orbit once every 365 days. And remember, Earth isn't taking that lap while it's standing straight up and down. Instead, it's tilted on its axis, the invisible line around which our planet spins. Put together, the Earth's tilt on its axis and the orbit it makes around the sun, and you get the yearly pattern we call seasons. Let's see how. Since the Earth is tilted, for part of the year, one of the hemispheres, which is half of the Earth, is leaning toward the sun, and the other part of the year, it's leaning away. Let's follow the northern hemisphere once around the sun to see how this works. In June, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. This means that it's getting a lot of direct sunlight, light that's hitting it straight on. If you've ever sat directly underneath a bulb, you know that things can get pretty hot, and that's exactly what's happening to the northern hemisphere. It's summertime and the living is easy. Temperatures are warm and days are long. In December, though, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. It's getting indirect sunlight, meaning light is hitting it at an angle. Indirect sunlight means cooler temperatures, shorter days, and, for lots of folks, hot cocoa and bundling up since it's winter. But how can the angle of the sun's light make a difference between hot and cold? Well, try this little trick with a flashlight. Get a flashlight and dim the lights in your room a little bit. If you turn the flashlight on and point it straight down onto your desk, you'll see a small, bright, concentrated circle of light. That's kind of how sunlight hits the northern hemisphere during the summer. Bright and intense. Now move the flashlight down at an angle and point it at the top of your desk. See how the light isn't as bright and is less intense where it falls? That's like the sunlight we get in winter. But what about spring and autumn? During these 2 seasons, the Earth's orbit causes the northern hemisphere to be neither tilted toward the sun nor away from it. So temperatures during the spring and fall are more moderate, not too hot and not too cold, since the entire globe is getting about the same amount of direct sunlight at once. Now, let's take a look at how the amount of sunlight affects temperatures in the northern northern hemisphere over the course of a whole year. An easy way to show this yearly pattern is by using a graph. This graph shows the average high temperature in each month for 1 year in Toronto, Canada, where I live. Looking at the graph, we see that during December, January, and February, when the northern hemisphere is getting very little direct sunlight, temperatures are low. And in the months of June, July, and August, when the tilt of the Earth on its axis is causing Toronto to get direct sunlight, the temperatures are much higher. Proof positive that something is going on here, and that something is this. The season that you're experiencing right this very minute is caused in part by the amount of direct sunlight you're getting. So, seasons are caused by the Earth's tilt on its axis as it cruises around the sun in its orbit. When one hemisphere gets more direct sunlight, it's summer there. Temperatures are warmer, days are longer, and nights are shorter. And when it gets more indirect sunlight, it's winter. Temperatures are cooler, days are shorter, and nights are longer. And now you know what causes summer, spring, autumn, and winter.
So, did you hear in the movie why we have 4 different seasons and why the seasons always follow the same pattern? Well, she explained it's because the Earth is tilted on an axis and the Earth is always moving around the sun. So we live in the northern hemisphere. Remember, she explained that the Earth is divided into a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. The northern hemisphere is on top and the southern hemisphere is on the bottom. We live in the northern hemisphere. So we are going to talk about our seasons because we are in the northern hemisphere. When did she say that we have summer? In the northern hemisphere, we have summer when the sun is pointing more directly toward the northern hemisphere. When do we have winter? Well, she explained we have winter when the northern hemisphere is pointed away from the sun. When the sun's rays are not pointing directly at the northern hemisphere, then we have winter. Guess what? If you lived in the southern hemisphere, like in Australia, it would be the opposite. Did you know that? Maybe you've heard that before. But when we have summer in Australia, they have winter. And same thing, when we have winter, they have summer. Pretty cool, huh? So today you're going to do a seesaw activity to show me what you learned about the patterns of the seasons. Now you are going to complete an activity in seesaw. So what you're going to do is on today's lesson, after you've watched the video, you're going to click the green Add Response button and find your name on the list, and it will open up the activity. So here you see the diagram that looks kind of like what she showed us in the movie. So we see the 4 Earths that are going around the sun. This one is showing us fall. This one is showing us spring. And one of these is showing us winter, and one of them is showing us summer. Your job is to show me which one is summer and which one is winter by dragging and dropping these boxes into the right spots. Remember, she showed us or taught us that the seasons always follow a pattern. So if this is fall, the arrow's going this way, which season would come after fall? And then here's spring, which season would come after spring? So you're going to drag and drop the seasons to the right spot. Then you're going to do the same thing with these 2 boxes. This one says we are tilted toward the sun's rays. This one says we are tilted away from the sun's rays. And here we see, here's us with the red star. On both of these, which one shows us tilted toward the sun and which one shows us when we're tilted away from the sun. And you're just going to drag and drop these boxes into the right spots. When you are done, click the green check mark and it will submit your assignment to me.